The Champions League semi-final is almost upon us. Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Welcome to another video. That is right, we are a matter of hours away from the opening whistle, kicking off the semi-finals this week. We've got two huge games in the Champions League semi-final, which means we were down to the final four, and we're about to see who is going to be advancing to the final in Istanbul at the end of the campaign. Two huge fixtures to see who will get there, and over the course of the next week or so, the both legs of the semi-finals are going to be played out. We have got the most successful team in this competition in Real Madrid taking on the hungry Pep Guardiola side, that is Manchester City, looking to redeem themselves from, of course, last season when these two teams met in last season's competition. And we also have an all-Serie A clash as the Milan teams go head-to-head in a Champions League semi-final, where, of course, the prize is a golden ticket to the final in Istanbul. We're going to be talking all about the games in this video, talking about the games that are going to be played out over the course of the next couple of weeks or so, as well as my predictions and everything else that goes along with that as well. But before we go any further, I would like to remind you all to please like the video and also subscribe if you're new. Both of them always and forever be greatly appreciated, and also encourage you to get involved in the comment section as well. I'm sure you have your own thoughts, your comments, opinions, but most of all, of course, your predictions on how you think these two games will go over the next couple of weeks or so. Those will make for interesting and great reading, I'm sure, down below in the comment section. But without further ado, let's get on with talking about the games, because these are going to be incredible games coming up for us this week. And we're going to start off with Tuesday night's game, of course we are. It is going to be at the Bernabeu Stadium. It is going to be Real Madrid in all white against Manchester City in their blue strip. I'm sure, maybe, possibly. Depends if it clashes, or depends if they want to wear their away shirt. I don't know. But either way, the famous white of Real Madrid, the blue of Manchester City. Look, these two teams put on an absolute clinic last season, and it was incredible to watch. Manchester City thought they had done enough to win, and then, of course, Rodrigo and Real Madrid had other ideas, staging one of the most phenomenal comebacks you will ever see in Champions League history. A fantastic comeback to obviously take the game from the jaws of defeat for Real Madrid and take it into extra time. Madrid needed 2 goals in the dying embers of the game. Rodrigo came up trumps not once but twice to take it into extra time, and then of course in extra time Madrid went on to win thanks to a Karim Benzema penalty. That was a phenomenal game. City bottled it. Madrid rescued defeat from the... They were incredible on that night. They were incredible. It made for one of the greatest nights of European and Champions League football you will ever see. And obviously Real Madrid from that point on went on to obviously claim their 14th Champions League title. This season they are on the hunt for a 15th Champions League title, but they face a Manchester City side. In order to get to the final, they have to face a Manchester City side who, of course, are looking to not only claim their first Champions League title ever, but, of course, looking for redemption, looking for revenge from, of course, bottling their position last season. Take it away. Like, this is going to be a phenomenal game of football, I'm sure. Two teams, both with incredible quality and talent and ability on show. Two teams who, in these kinds of crunch and massive games, just turn on the style, turn on the quality. You've got a Real Madrid side who, regardless of how they are in their domestic league, always turn up in this competition. We've seen it time and time again, and we've seen that over the course of even this campaign. Particularly in the second leg against Liverpool, they didn't really need to shift out of second or third gear to obviously put them to the sword. We saw it against Chelsea. I didn't think they were that impressive against Chelsea, but they managed to get the job done. They just have a way of getting the job done. They're going to need to be a bit more throttle, a bit more in a higher gear in this game, with obviously City being who they are, what they are, and obviously what they are chasing this season in terms of monumental and phenomenal history. But if anyone's going to do it, it's going to be Real Madrid. It's going to be Real Madrid, because it's just their competition. It's their stage. And City have got a massive uphill struggle ahead of them. But on the other side as well, Real Madrid have as well. Because looking back at that game last year, City had their chances to kill the game off before obviously Rodrigo stole the show. City had their opportunities to kill the game off, put the game to bed, but they failed to do so. They lacked a killer up front. They lacked a killer instinct. They lacked a prolific striker up front. Well, this season, they've covered that. Erling Haaland, obviously on a monumental and historic season himself individually, obviously will be chomping at the bit to get his first Champions League trophy. He scores plenty of goals in this competition. He will obviously want to add trophies to his collection. And let's face it, the City squad in general will as well. They are chasing history after all. They are on course to take the Premier League title. They have got a very good chance of winning the FA Cup, in my opinion, when they meet their City rivals, Manchester United, at the end of the season. And now they have a very big opportunity to win the Champions League as well. They could be chasing a treble, as in 3 on the bounce, I guess you'd say, in the Premier League. They could be chasing a treble in terms of the big 3 competitions this campaign. Erling Haaland and Manchester City could make history come the end of the campaign. And honestly, in their kind of form right now, you would not back against them doing that. They have been brilliant for the past several months. They've really cranked up through the gears. In the past couple of games, I don't think they've been that convincing. But is that just because they're preserving their energy? Are they waiting to go again? Have they been doing just enough in those Premier League games to get by, get the 3 points? And now against the Real Madrid side, they know they're going to need to be at 100% at. Do they go again? Do they explode out the blocks early? I think with the way that the games are set up, obviously the first leg is going to be at the Bernabeu, the second leg is going to be at the Etihad. Real Madrid need to make their home advantage count. For me, they need to make their home advantage count, because there's no Bernabeu second leg to fall back on this time around. So they need to make their first leg count at home in front of their crowd. They're going to need to make it as hostile and as awkward as ever for Manchester City. And for City, they just need to stay in the game. They don't need to go gung-ho too much in the first leg. They don't need to push the boat out and blow themselves out before the second leg. They need to play the game smart. They need to take it back to the Etihad, where they can then make it awkward for Real Madrid. Obviously, they'll want to kill the game off, take their chances. But I think with the onus being on Real Madrid, being at home, the onus being on them to come out the blocks and attack City, City can really use that to their advantage. And they can just play their natural game. No, not too much pressure on them. Obviously, there is a lot of pressure, but obviously not too much pressure on them to go out and kill the game off instantaneously. They can just let Madrid come on to them, and then they can hit them on the counter-attack. And with the players that they have at their disposal, the likes of Riyad Mahrez, the likes of Erling Haaland, Phil Foden's back in the squad as well. Jack Grealish is playing the best that he's played in this Manchester City squad since obviously signing a couple of years ago. City can definitely overcome this Real Madrid obstacle and obviously exact revenge on Madrid for what they did to them last season. Does that necessarily mean that City will go on and win this game? Not by a long shot. This one is very much on a knife edge. You wouldn't back against City winning, but at the same time, as I mentioned before, this is Real Madrid's competition. This is the competition that they turn up for season after season, no matter how badly or how even good they're doing in their own domestic league. This is their competition, and there's something about their Champions League heritage and their history in this competition that seems to give them a little bit more of a boost, bit more energy, bit more momentum, bit more of a drive, bit more of a determination kind of boost for them to get across the finish line and get through no matter what. Like I say, I don't think they've been at their 100% best this season in terms of their Champions League, but at the same time, they've managed to get the job done because they've been there so often and they can do it. Does that necessarily mean that we have seen the best of Real Madrid? No, not by a long shot. Maybe they are preserving their energy. Maybe they didn't need to against the likes of Liverpool and Chelsea to get that far. But they will have to in this game because Pep Guardiola's side are chasing down history. Pep Guardiola's side are driven to getting their first Champions League title. And Pep Guardiola's side may have a very good chance of doing that and making a lot more history added on to this Champions League trophy than, obviously, a lot of teams or a lot of other teams could have only possibly imagined. As far as a prediction goes, look, as much as I want to say Madrid actually get the job done here, because I don't want City winning a treble, I don't want City winning their first Champions League. Unfortunately, I think we will have to obviously make peace with the fact that they will eventually win their first Champions League, and let's face it, it very well could be this season. This, I think, is their final task for City. Unless Guardiola does a madness and bottles the final, because I really don't see any of the other Milan teams stopping City or Real Madrid for that matter. I think this is going to be the game that we see the winner in. I think the winner of this tie overall will go on and win the Champions League. I unfortunately see it being Manchester City. I think City will be winning this game across both legs. I think if they play it smart, they can do it in a fantastic way. I think if they get a draw at the Bernabeu and then take it to the Etihad and absolutely kill the game off from that point of view, I think City will get the job done. If Guardiola does a madness, if obviously he overthinks it, like he sometimes does and has done in the past, Real Madrid can certainly take advantage of that, and it's going to be a really good game to watch. Either way, it's going to be a really good game to watch. There's going to be key battles right the way across the pitch. The likes of Kevin De Bruyne against Luka Modric. The likes of Erling Haaland against Eder Militao. You've obviously got Ruben Diaz against Karim Benzema. You'll have Kyle Walker against Vinicius Jr. That one's going to be a battle of pure speed and pace that I can't wait to look forward to. And then, of course, you'll have Rodrigo against Nathan Ake. Nathan Ake's been phenomenal this season. Can he keep Rodrigo quiet for the entirety of the game rather than just 89 of the 90 minutes that were obviously played like last season? Other key battles as well, right the way across the pitch. That's going to make for intriguing. That's going to make everything intriguing. Likes of Camavinga. You got players like Camavinga. You got players like Rodri. You got players like obviously Toni Kroos, Gundogan. Like I say, I've already mentioned Grealish. I've already mentioned Foden, Mahrez. This is going to be oozing with quality, oozing with talent. But like I say, I think that when the final whistle goes at the end of the 180 minutes, maybe even more if extra time is needed, I think City will be the ones left standing and will advance to Istanbul, to the final. And then from there, it should be a formality for City to go on and win. But of course, nothing is ever certain, especially not in the Champions League, because the second game features Champions League royalty of its own. AC Milan against Inter Milan. AC Milan, of course, 7-time winners of this competition. Sleeping giants, if you like, across Europe for large parts of the past 20 years or so, or past, shall I say, 15 to 18 years or so. Last won this competition back in 2007, did AC Milan against Liverpool. Got revenge, obviously, for that Istanbul final in 2005. Obviously, coincidence, Istanbul is going to be the host of this season's final. In 2005, of course, AC Milan were 3-0 up at half-time. Liverpool pulled it back to 3-3 and went on to win on penalties. So there'll be a bit more motivation for them to get to Istanbul this time and obviously put right the things that went wrong in 2005. But they'll obviously face their Italian counterpart, their Italian rival, if you like, in Inter Milan. In the Serie A, there's only 2 points that separates them as they enter the final 4 games. Inter are above AC Milan. In terms of the Champions League, though, this one could go any which way. You've got an Inter Milan side chasing down their 5th Champions League title. Of course, the last time that they won this competition was in 2010 in that phenomenal treble-winning season managed by, of course, one Jose Mourinho. This one is going to be interesting. There's a lot of intriguing players on display here. I don't think anybody really predicted either of these two sides making it this far, but I think that with the way that the draws played out for both of these sides, I think you can maybe argue that maybe Napoli were probably the favourites going into that AC Milan game, but of course AC Milan managed to come out on top in that one. Obviously, Inter beat Benfica in the last round to make it this far. This one could be very intriguing. All eyes, for me, are going to be on Rafael Leao, a player who has got a lot of ability, a lot of promise. But I don't... every time I personally have watched him, I don't see him being consistent enough. This one could be a big opportunity and a big stage, not just for him, but of course for a lot of other players as well. But he's the name, for me, that instantly stands out right off the bat. I don't really follow Serie A too much, so I can't really comment much further on this one. But I know that there are a lot of good players in both of these sides. The unfortunate part is that I believe, as I've said before, the winner of this tie will ultimately prove to be the loser because they'll go on and face one of Real Madrid or Manchester City, and they will probably go on and lose in the final, unfortunately. But anything can happen. We've seen underdogs come out on top before. We've seen unlikely stories in the Champions League. Anything can definitely happen. It's not a foregone conclusion. And personally, I do love an underdog story. So if one of these two Milan sides, preferably Inter, were to obviously get through to the final and then actually go on and win this competition as a whole, that would be incredible and phenomenal in itself. But unfortunately, I just don't see it happening, I'm afraid. Like I say, some good players, some intriguing battles. Obviously, you've got the added incentive of it being an all Serie A, all Milan clash, a Milan derby in the Champions League. Incredible storytelling there. And for me, again, I've got to go with Champions League heritage, or at least the one that's got a bit more of Champions League heritage in AC Milan. I think the sleeping giant will awaken once again and claim another Champions League final. I am going to go with AC Milan, but only just am I going to go with the red and black half of Milan rather than the blue and black half of Milan. So those are just the thoughts, comments, opinions, predictions. Of course, most of all, predictions of this guy. I want to know what you guys think. What do you make of the Champions League semi-finals that are coming up this week? I personally picked Man City and AC Milan to fill out the final in this season's competition. But I'd love to know what you guys think. I'm sure you guys have your own thoughts, your comments, opinions, but most of all, of course, your predictions on the Champions League, the semi-finals that are coming up this week. I'd love to know them all down below in the comment section because I'm sure they'll all make for interesting and exciting reading. Otherwise, hit the like button on the way. If you enjoyed the video, subscribe if you're new or want to see more content like this. Both things are always and probably greatly appreciated. And as always, thank you all so much for watching and listening. I've been Fletch. This has been another Fletch Talks video, and I'll see you and speak to you all again soon. in another video.